Right, so great. How do I take my data out of R to a different environment? So that's what I'm going to demonstrate today. I think that last week when we were doing the introduction to machine learning, somebody asked that question. So if the data is within R and you want to take it out of R to a different or to your local environment, how do you do that? So I'm going to demonstrate in 3 different ways that you can do that. But this is what I'm talking about. If I do data, if I just do data right now and I run it, you're going to see quite a number of data packages which are here. You can see BOG, CO2, and whatsoever. These are all data that are inbuilt in R. But perhaps you may want to take one of these data sets out of R to a different environment and go and work out there. That's what I'm talking about. So for instance, if you wanted the BOD, if you wanted, let's say, the BOD, for instance, okay, so let's say let me just have a glimpse of the BOD. I'll close it here, run it. So you notice that, yeah, it's a data set of time and demand, and then that's what we have here. I have just few of them there. Let's assume that I wanted to take this particular data set out of R into my local environment, into my local computer. So that's what is meant by, let's say, writing into a file. So you write into the file and then you can go to your local environment and do that. But before that, let me answer another question. Somebody opened an R Studio. He said he followed my tutorial, opened R Studio, and saw only 2 windows, or is it 3? You see that at the moment the windows are 3. Anytime you see something like this, it means that one of the windows is folded up or folded down to go and join the other, has been overlapped or superimposed. So you see that the right bottom window has been folded up. So if you check, you can see minimize and the maximize buttons. So if you click on any of them, if you click it, it's going to come down. So you can come and click here, it's going to go up. If you don't want, just hover your cursor around here. Immediately it changes to a plus with arrows at each end. Then you can just press your mouse key down, your right mouse key down, and then drag it. And then you are going to get your windows. So they are actually sliding windows. You can move either way. This is just by the way. So now we come back here, I have our data sets here. So let's assume that I wanted to look at the first 15 here. So if you can see that I have, what is it? I don't know if they are, so let me look at the dimensions of the BOD. So, they are just, that's all of them. They are not up to 15, so that's why we couldn't display the others. So, but let's assume that I wanted to write this particular data. I want to take it out of R. So the first thing I need to do is, if I want to take it out of R, do I want it to appear as a comma separated values or a table form or an Excel form? So there are several ways through which you can write to a file. You can write it as an Excel file. So in that case, you're going to open it in an Excel environment. You can write it as a table. You can also open that in Excel environment. You can write it as comma separated, like CSV file, and then you can also open it in Notepad in your local machine. But before you do that, you need to know your working directory in your local machine. To do that in R is quite simple. I think I demonstrated this before. You simply say get working directory, get WD, like this, and then when you have open and, so if you do this, get WD, open and close bracket, then you see that it's going to tell you where your directory is. It means when I write the files here, and if I go to my local machine and I want them, I have to go to my documents. That's all I want to explain here. They will be in my documents. So you can actually change this particular working directory, but that's a video I'm going to do on another day and show you how to change your working directory into wherever you want. So let's start. But before I go, to be on a very fast way, It's simply, the first one is, let's look at the comma separated. So let's say I want to write, I'll just say it's always start with write. When you put dot there, it's actually going to give you these options. So you are going to write what? A CSV file. So the first thing that comes is the data that you want to write. So in this case, we are going to write a data set of, let's say, the empty cars. So we all know the empty cars come there. So, but I'm writing it to a CSV file. So I have to indicate the name of the file. Okay, I have to indicate the name of the file, just like what is it? If I go to my local machine, what will be the name of the file? So if I have here file here, it's actually going to give me. So I'm writing to that particular file, and because it's a text, I'm going to put double quoted. So if I do that, then I have to indicate, I'm saying that I'm just going to repeat the same name. So but I'm going to say my underscore empty cars, empty cars. Anyway you spell it, it's in double quote, so there's no problem. So if I run like this, it means when I go to my local machine, this is the file I am going to open. I should check in my document. So I'm going to run that, and you see it has been written properly. Now let me go to my local machine, go to my document, and then go and look for my empty cars. So I'm going to check for my empty cars. It should be hiding somewhere as a CSV file. This is my document. So I'm now looking for my empty. Okay, so you can see it is here. So it was written as a CSV file, so I can only open it in Notepad. So let me right click on that, and so I'm going to open it with so I'm saying I'm going to open it with Notepad. Come and click my Notepad and come here, and you can see the data is actually here. So in this case, it's no longer in R environment. I have written it off R environment, and it is there. So that's one of the ways through which we can write, a file. You can write your file, or you can write to a file. That's how we copy it. So I just repeat, you have to say, right, you specify. This CSV tells you that I want the file to be in the CSV format. Files come in different format. So I want it to be in a CSV format. CSV, comma separated. Now, that's one way of doing that. Now, the CSV, it comes in two categories. You could actually also have the CSV2. Now, with the CSV2, let me write that, and then you see what is going to happen. So this is actually CSV1, and then this is CSV2. The CSV2, I'm going to have empty cars, the same empty cars, I'm going to write there. And then if I just put comma and say file, and then the file is going to come, I'm going to open this and say my underscore empty cars 2. So I'm going to run that, and then so that is also that I have sent the data to my local environment. If I come here, you can see I'm going to have my empty cars 2 somewhere. I'm looking for it. I have so many things on my document. So this was my empty cars 1. So where is my empty cars 2? It should be hiding somewhere. So I'm looking for that, but I'm not getting that quite quick. So once I'm not getting, I'm going to go back and then explain what that means. And then my empty cars 2, or how did I do that? Empty cars 2. Okay, so what that means is that for here, for the first parts where I am highlighting, for the first part here, what that line means is when you are having, let's say, if you have a value like, let's say, 22.3, so in that particular file, that's how it's going to be presented. So points are going to be, decimals are going to be represented by points. Now in the second one, decimals are going to be represented by a comma. So here, that's how it is here, decimals. So the same 22, it will be 22.3. You see, and then the separator will be a semicolon. Separator will be a semicolon here, or the top one, the separator will be a comma. That's just the difference. So I always prefer the first one, but whichever way that you want, you can always have it. Now this is the first way of writing to a file. Now for the sake of time, the others are just, so this is the first one of how to be able to do it. So I have I've already demonstrated the two. I'm going to leave that. Now the second way, you can also write, let's say I have I want to write it in the form of a table. If I want to write it in the form of a table, so we just say write.table, and then I have my empty cars over there. Then that's the data set that I want to write it out of R. So I'm going to have my file as usual, but in this case you indicate that when I go to my working directory, my current working directory, which I've already shown you, I am working from my document. So this is where I'm going to find it. It's going to be mtcars.txt. So that's how I want it. I want the file name to be. That one is purely, and then the separator. Mostly, if you are writing it as a table, the separator should have a name. The separator should always take this particular /t. It means it's a tab separated values. We have comma delimited, we have comma separated, we have tab delimited, tab separated. This is also tab separated. So it means that each value will be different from the other value by a tab. So some are different from the other one by a comma. Others are different from the other one by a delimiter. So that is how values are interpreted and how I will read it. So in this case, we want the values to be separated from each other by a tab delimited. So that's why we are using /t. That's what the separator means here. Now, because it's going to be a tabular data, so a table data would have either the columns can have names, the rows can have names. If you don't want the column names to be there, you just put NA. Column.names is going to be NA. If you don't want the row names to be there, or if you want it to be there, you say true. If you don't want it to be there, you say NA or false. Whichever way you put it. So it means that if there are no names, it's going to be no, the names will not be there. But column names, usually, we don't like saying false for a reason. If you say false, it means that you don't want the column names to be there at all. But you may want or you may want the program to create dummy column names. So you just leave it at NAs. And when you do that, you run it, you have actually the data or I have written the file mtcars into a new file name mtcars.txt, and it is found on my document. If I go to my document now, if I go to my local machine, I go to my document, I should be looking for mtcars.txt. So mtcars.txt, as you can see, it is here, mtcars.txt. So it is a tabular data. I'm sure I can open it with Excel, or I can just open it so it's a text. So I could open it to Notepad too. So you see how it is. So what is it? Each of them is having their own separation, and you can see how the data looks like. So I now have it on my local machine, and that's how it is. So the last part we need to look at how to write to a file is Excel. To be able to do that, you need this package called XLSX. If you don't have it on your machine, you won't be able to write to an Excel. Before I do that, let me show you how to do this. So you simply come to your packages and then search. When you click on your packages, just search Excel. So you're going to see this particular where my cursor is pointing. You're going to see that particular package called XLSX. Just make sure you click on that particular checkbox. If not, you won't be able to write to it. So to write to an Excel is simply the same way like write. You have dots, and then you bring your XLSX like this. When you do that, then already you will see the syntax is already there. You start with your data. So the data here is mtcars. Then you just put it there. And then, as usual, it's going to come with the file. The file will tell you where you want what's the name? What name are you going to? Do you want to be called? So I want it to be called mtcars.txt. cars. This time around, the cars, I'm going to spell it this way. And then because it's an Excel file, I have to give it file extension. Very important. The file extension is very important. So XLSX. So if it goes to my local machine, that's how my local machine is able to interpret what kind of file it is. So that's why I have to put the extension there as XLS. That's why if you are going to open a comma separated, your machine can automatically determine which program will open it, like it's a notepad or it is this. Because if you do not do that, the machine will not be able to know which kind of program can open this kind of file. And that's why file extensions are very important. So I have my file. So I'm saying that empty cars dot. So it's going to be an Excel file. So if I come out of it, I need to give it what is the sheet. So in this case, the sheet name. If I open it in Excel, what should the sheet? If I don't add a sheet name, nothing will happen. It can open. But for best practice, I could just say a sheet name. And because I've already indicated Excel as the function, Aaron knows that I'm talking about a sheet name. So the sheet name will just come, and because it's a name, it has to come in double quote. So you are going to give the sheet name. So I'm going to call that what the cars. You can just call it any way you want. Cars. This is how I want it. Now the last part, which is append. The append simply means that maybe you were already having an Excel book or an Excel document which was sitting on your local machine, and so you want this particular file you are writing to go and be attached to it. All right, so that's why you say append. So when you say append, you can either say true or false. If you say true, it will go and attach to that. If you say false, it's going to remain the way it is. So I don't want it. I want to say false. So I'm just going to say false. I'm not going to append it to anything. So if I do that, I just can write. I now click this, and then you remember the name. The file name is actually mtcars.zz.d. So if I go to my local machine, as usual, I should be looking for what is it? What was it, sir? Let me come back to R and check. It's mtcars with ZZ. So if I come here, I'm looking for mtcars with ZZ. That should be somewhere here. So I'm just looking for it momentarily, and if I find it, I will try, and then you see how that one too works. Okay, it's here. It's just over here. So you can see that it's an Excel file, and you can see if I simply double click, it, you see that automatically it's going to open in Excel, and you can see that it has been opened in my Excel document. So sorry about this pop-up things over here. So now what we can see, all of them are there, and then in that order. So these are the various ways, or should I say, these are the various ways through which we can write. You can pick your data from, let's say, from a local machine into a different machine, and then it will work. Just know the syntax, follow what I just have done here, and you can always do that. If it is your own data that you build, for instance, like the way I was doing this yesterday about the NDC, the only thing you need here is to just come and pick here, as I want to write this particular data out of R, because I use R random figures to create a data set, and so now I want to take it out of here. So it's simple. You just, if I want to take it out as a comma separated, let me do that very last one, and then I'll leave. So it's going to be write then .csv file. It's going to be a CSV file 1. So I'll just put there my data is NDC, and then that is it. The data has already been built. So if I come here, I'm going to have my file. The file is going to come. Then I give it a name. So maybe this time I want it to be called NDC underscore post, and that's all. So if I do this, if I run it, so it says it could not find the object NDC, which when that happened, it means that the build up here has not been run. I didn't run the build up here. So obviously, so if I come and run it again, I'm coming here to run everything again, and then now if I come to run that file, where is it? Yeah, it's here. If I come to run it again, you won't find that. So you see that the NDC is now run properly. Now if I go to my local machine and I'm looking for NDC pose, I should be able to find it in my document here. If I go to my document, my directory here, which is document, I should be able to find NDC pose. So NDC should be around N column. So NDC, you can see that I have ndc.csv file, which is here. So if I double click on that, so and then that opens, so you can see Greater Accra whatsoever, and each of them, you see that they are all separated by semicolon, instead of, depending on the kind of CSV that I have used. So basically this is how we are able to, we are able to write to pick data from our environment into a local machine, and you can take it to your pen drive whatsoever and then use it on a different machine. I could actually use this to create whatever data that I want, because it's actually very easy to simulate data on R than any other platform. And so let's say I wanted to simulate the data for somebody, so I could do this, simulate it, and then I take it to my local machine and copy it to a pen drive or to a Google Drive and share the link so that everybody can have access to it. This is how it is being done. So if you're watching, thank you very much for being around, and this has been your video of today. Thank you. Bye bye.